Rector, Principal, Senior Vice Principal, colleagues, members of the General Council. On behalf of the members of the General Council present this morning and the 220,000 members across the world who cannot be with us, thank goodness, can I start by expressing a very warm welcome to our new Principal, Professor Peter Matheson. As we are aware, Peter has spent the last few years as Vice-Chancellor and President of the University of Hong Kong. He tells me that he is a keen walker and in Edinburgh already enjoys walking from home to Old College. This was impossible in Hong Kong, as for most of the year the humidity would have meant arriving in his office in a socially unpleasant state. I want to assure him that humidity of that nature will not be an issue in Edinburgh. The high point of General Council activity over the past months was a reception for and presentation to Sir Timothy O'Shea to mark his 15 very successful years at the helm of the university. At Sir Tim's request, monies collected from General Council members were donated to the O'Shea Global Scholars Initiative. Sir Tim had been very supportive of the General Council, and we felt it appropriate to arrange a personal gift for himself and Lady O'Shea. For this, we commissioned a piece of engraved glass art created by General Council member Alison Kinnaird. Alison's glass engraving is rightly famous and is displayed in collections across the world. She produced a quite magnificent engraving depicting Old College. For members who have not seen the piece, a photograph of it can be viewed on the General Council website. We have recently been in detailed, but I am pleased to say harmonious discussions with the university regarding the implementation of the Higher Education Governance Scotland Act 2016. Amongst other provisions, this removed the requirement for the governing body of the ancient Scottish universities to include positions for General Council members. In our case, this means there is now no statutory requirement for General Council court assessors. However, our university has made it very clear that they wish General Council members to continue on the court. I'm very grateful to the university for taking this attitude, but also to present and past General Council court assessors whose contributions to the management of the university have been informed, appropriate, and much appreciated. These discussions have resulted in the motion to be presented later in the meeting, which I commend to you and which I trust you will approve. Last autumn, the Business Committee's first task was the setting of objectives for this session. This followed an informal meeting with the current officers of the Edinburgh University Students' Association. I consider it important that we make ourselves aware of the issues exercising students, and that these are borne in mind when agreeing our priorities. We agreed objectives under 4 headings. Firstly, the student experience encompassing teaching and learning, in particular teaching quality, the personal tutor system, and the teaching research balance. Secondly, student well-being, especially mental health and counselling, transport, ensuring accessibility, and housing. Then outreach, paying particular attention to widening access and integrating the student community. Finally, constitutional change, including the General Council changes I have already referred to, and leaving the European Union. Our 4 standing committees then take these objectives and plan their meetings accordingly. Steve Hillier's Academic Standing Committee held a formal meeting with senior officers from USA and recently met with the newly appointed Director of Student Wellbeing, Mr. Andy Shanks. Professor David Munro's Constitutional Standing Committee has been closely involved with the change to our court assessors. They met with Dr. Lewis Allen, Head of Court Services, to finalise the arrangements. I will describe these arrangements later. Professor Munro also keeps a watching brief on the implications of Brexit and will arrange meetings as facts become clearer. Or when facts become clearer is probably better. Sir Philip Moore's Finance and Services Standing Committee held its annual meeting with Phil McNall, the University Director of Finance, on the 24th of January. Mr. McNall reported another successful year for the university, and Sir Philip particularly noted highlights as a 10% year-on-year rise in research grants, and the award of £9.7 million through undergraduate bursary schemes. £9.7 million. The expenditure on capital schemes continues apace, with plans to spend £200 million over the next 10 years on schemes designed to improve the experience of students. The committee also noted the university's major involvement in the forthcoming Edinburgh City deal. I'm pleased to report that Ms. Sophie Marshall has accepted the chair of the Public Affairs Standing Committee, and they met with Professor Jane Norman, Vice Principal, People and Culture, to discuss her disability review. The committee endorsed the recommendations pertaining to both the implementation of adjustments for undergraduates and the accessibility of the estate. They appreciate that these improvements will take some time before they are fully in place, and intend to keep the subject on their agenda. And at this point, I would like to thank the 4 chairs of our standing committees for their work, and the senior university personnel who always respond so willingly to our requests for presentations and discussions. I'm delighted that the present members of the Business Committee are so diligent in their attendance, and they are, and so interested in university activities. In addition, we have a membership with diverse backgrounds and experience and a very good equality and diversity balance. I believe this is reflected in the fact that we had so many splendid people standing for the vacant positions in this year's elections. All would have been worthwhile additions to our number, and I hope that those who were not successful will retain their interest, and we can find a way in the future to involve them. I believe it is very important that the General Council is represented at official university functions, such as graduations, St Giles services, and the Remembrance event. Business Committee members have fulfilled these responsibilities enthusiastically, and I'm happy to report that in the past year we have not missed one. As the previous principal said in thanks to us, sometimes he found himself walking up the high street on a wet Sunday morning with only General Council members to support him. So I thank the Business Committee members for their commitment. I now need to end on a sad note. Dr. Mike Mitchell is stepping down from his position as Secretary of the General Council. I must explain the significance of this. Mike is the Secretary of the General Council and therefore Secretary of the Business Committee. He has repeatedly explained to me that I am simply the convener of the Business Committee and not the convener of the General Council. The Secretaryship of the General Council is misnamed. The position is in reality the Chief Executive of the General Council. The Secretary organises everything, and Mike has carried through his role in an exemplary fashion. I'm sure previous conveners he has worked with would agree with me that they would have floundered without Mike to direct them. His experience of the university, his knowledge of its people, his background history of the General Council are extensive, and his interpersonal skills outstanding. I have no doubt that this meeting will want to thank Mike for his 12 years of service to the Business Committee, his past chairing of the Public Affairs Standing Committee, and his 7 years as Secretary. My surgical background trained me not to panic when the way ahead looked challenging. However, I did panic when Mike announced that he was stepping down. However, again demonstrating the popularity of the General Counsel in this university, we received 3 fully qualified applications for the post. Any of the 3 would have put my mind at rest, but we will come later in the agenda to the appointment we would like you to approve. Rector, that completes my report.
Thank you very much, Stuart.